One of the bigger names in free agency is John Collins, and he's receiving a lot of interest from these four teams: the Mavs, the Heat, the Timberwolves, and the Spurs. In your opinion, which team is the best fit for him that you want to see him go to the most between these four teams? The Mavs, Heat, Spurs, and Timberwolves.
The Mavs, Heat.
You want a little more time?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm just Mavs, Heat. I don't like the Heat.
I agree.
I like Mavs.
Like the Mavs.
I really do like that. I really like I'm really vibing to the Luka and John, because I've just seen Trae Young and Collins, and I'm really vibing to the Luka. Nah, I'm saying I really vibing to the Luka and John Collins thing. You know, I like the pick and roll I can imagine right now. And John Collins isn't a bad shooter either. The pick and pop would be beautiful. This is a high flyer, a high leaper, something I think that would really benefit for Luka, some guy who can really leap and get off the floor. Miami, I mean, him and Bam, I feel like Bam kind of does what he do. So it's like I don't really vibe with that. And the Spurs don't have a true point guard to really unlock John Collins, so I wouldn't really bank on that too. What was the other team?
So it's Timberwolves. Spurs.
That can be intriguing too. You know, you got Carl stretched out on the perimeter. You got John. You could put John at the 4. He can space the floor also. You could play a 5 out. D-Lo is a really good point guard with great playmaking instincts. I'm going to say Dallas and Timbs are my top 2.
Anthony Edwards too. What about the Spurs?
I don't like the Spurs.
I agree. I
don't think they have a point guard
they'd be going backwards a little bit. Like, why would you spend a little bit unnecessary money, especially when you're considering
I don't know their
Murray and White?
Yeah, I don't know their direction right now.
Correct. But I feel like for me, you took every word out of my mouth. I just seen what Collins has meant to Atlanta and the game that Atlanta and that Trae Young and John Collins had run together, and it would be almost identical to what they would be doing in Dallas. You have one of the best playmakers in our game in Luka Doncic, and the size advantage that Luka has on Trae. Obviously, he doesn't have the quickness that Trae has, but the fact that he has as much size as he has on him would allow that tandem of John Collins and him to just be lethal. Like you mentioned, that pick and pop, that pick and roll, it would just be very dynamic in what they could do with that offense. The one thing that would worry me about that is that Porzingis ends up getting lost then, because Porzingis struggled with being the number 2 option and not having the ball in his hands that often. Imagine what it would be being the 3. So
I think, but I think, John, I think John is okay with being a 2, and you can trade Porzingis too.
I feel like John would be okay with being a 3 because he's seen how Bogey and Trae had worked together. He'd seen how DeAndre Hunter had come in and been effective as a scorer as well. So I feel like he knows the role of taking somewhat of a back seat, but still at the same time being able to get his because of how talented he is. I feel like that fit would be perfect. I don't like Miami because I feel like it would get too crowded offensively, especially when we see Bam take such strides in his offensive game. I feel like this would kind of, I don't want to say take confidence away from him, but it would take touches away from him that I feel like he needs to continue to develop his game. I feel like what they need right now is an athletic guard. A guy like Kyle Lowry would be perfect for them because he would fit that hard-nosed defense that Miami has gone for these past few seasons. And I look at the Spurs, like you mentioned, I feel like that would just be a complete opposite move of what I'd expect them to do with the rumors of Murray, the rumors of White getting traded. And the Timberwolves, I like that option a lot too, because it's not like Karl Anthony Towns isn't the best big man shooter there is. So they could have a lot of spacing on that floor with D'Lo, who could shoot the lights out. Anthony Edwards, who's a decent to, I don't want to, I'd lean as far as say above average. He could reach above average in his shooting abilities. And then John Collins, who's a really good shooter also, that the spacing that they would have would be amazing. And they could be dominant on the interior as well with Collins' ability to score on the inside and obviously Karl Anthony's ability to score on the inside. You have D'Lo who could slash to the basket. You have Anthony Edwards that could slash to the basket. So this would be a really good move. It just would depend on the money that he would be taking because I don't see him taking less to go to a team like that.
Yeah.
Because he could just stay in Atlanta, take less, and still compete. But I feel like if he's going to leave, he's going to leave for get money. So that's why I feel like the Spurs are even on here at all. Because they would offer him the most money by far.
Well, I think Minnesota can compete if they stay healthy.
No doubt.
I think they can play
with
for
Collins
a play-in.
or without.
both.
Okay.
I think they can compete for a play-in spot. I think they can definitely get it. I think they can be better than what the Spurs were competing for a play-in spot.
Yeah.
They can be better than the Spurs. They have a talented roster with a lot of guys: Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley. So I think they can. Ricky Rubio. I think they can compete. They just have to stay healthy. That's their key. If they're healthy, they can get into a play.
I have a question, but go ahead, Joel.
Across the league, many people believe that John Collins has played his way into a max contract with these playoffs. In 18 playoff games, he has averaged 14 points, 9 rebounds, and shot 36% from the three. Not sure those are max contract numbers, 14 and 9. Definitely not for me, for my taste.
Mm-hmm.
And the Hawks owner, Tony Ressler, has said that Collins will only be back if they have a fair agreement, which means that I don't think he's going to break the bank for Collins. You mentioned the fit with Dallas. I don't think Dallas is a great fit because I think Porzingis already does most of what Collins does. If they do bring in Collins, it's because they're trading away Porzingis. We talk about Miami. I think Miami would be a good fit. We saw this past playoffs, Bam, he's a good defender, but he does lack size. And we saw they weren't able to build the wall on Giannis this past playoffs because they didn't have size. I think John Collins gives them more size and gives them a taller front court, and he would have fit good because he can space the floor as well, with Jimmy being there, with Duncan hopefully coming back, with Bam. And then you look at the T-Wolves. I'm not sure how they're going to get him. They have no cap space. They're paying D'Lo, Malik.
Sign and trade?
Sign and trade, but they're paying D'Lo, Malik, and Towns $20+ million.
Rubio 17.
That's all of their cap space. The only way I see them trading or getting Collins on that roster next year is if they sign and trade with Atlanta and give up Malik Beasley. I'm not sure if Atlanta does that because they already have Bogey. They already have Cam.
What about giving up Rubio to come off the bench?
They already have DeAndre Hunter, and I'll get into that. Rubio would be the only one because he can come off the bench and be their backup point guard, and then they wouldn't have to draft one in this draft. So they could go with Rubio, but I think Rubio at $17 million per year, and he has a couple years left on his contract, is a bit too much of a hefty price for Collins. The Wolves would have to give me a pick in return, and I'm not sure if the Wolves are in the business of giving up any picks right now.
They don't have any.
I think the Spurs are the best fit. The reason why is because they need star talent. They need a star talent type of player. You've mentioned before that Collins has averaged 20 and 10 before, so you think he has that star potential.
Definitely.
I think that on the Spurs, being the first option, can he average 20 and 10? Can he average 22 and 11? Probably. He can average around that. That's why I think the Spurs are the most likely scenario because John Collins can be that main guy, and I think he wants to be it. He was frustrated with Trae Young being so dominant, even though Trae Young is an elite player. That tells me John Collins feels like he should be in that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, he wants to load. And if the Spurs can have a roster of maybe if they get Collins, they don't trade away Murray or Derek White. Murray, Derek White, Keldon Johnson, John Collins, Jacques Pirtle, Devin Vassell. That's not too bad.
Well, the thing, like this year, I know Keldon played a lot at the 4. They kind of went small. I'm interested to see how they're gonna do it because bringing in John Collins, who is he's a young talented player, and the Spurs have a lot of young guys, not stars, but just a lot of young good pieces in the organization. So bringing in John Collins is gonna be interesting to see how he's gonna fit into that offense and how he's gonna unlock his game. And like you said with Minnesota, it's gonna be hard because they're in cap hell right now. But I think getting John Collins to sit up there with Cap would be a phenomenal thing for that team. And then they have a big coming off the bench. That's a team that has a lot of talent. I'm in the business of thinking Dallas is going to trade Porzingis. So that's what I think, John Collins would be great there if he trades Porzingis. You get another guy on the perimeter and then you bring in John Collins. That'd be great for those guys. But, yeah, like you said, John Collins – San Antonio, he'll probably be the star there, and that'll probably be something that they're willing to, keep into their foundation for their future. It's going to be interesting because, like you said, those numbers that you threw up aren't $20 million numbers, 14 and 9 for 18 playoff games. He's had flashes. He's had games where he showed out. But those aren't numbers that's screaming to me $20 million. Like I said before, those are $15, $16 million numbers to me based off the market we're in now. So I don't know. I think the Spurs would probably be the only team that'll break the bank for them because they haven't had a superstar since Kawhi, since Tim Duncan. And Tim Duncan they drafted, Tony Parker they drafted, Manu they drafted, Kawhi they drafted. So they've never really.
LaMarcus?
He wasn't a superstar, but like that's what I was gonna say. Aside from LA, they haven't really brought in any real all-star talent in a free agency because they got DeMar in the trade in a very long time. So it's gonna, like I said, San Antonio. This will be the first time, so this will be interesting to see.
But the Spurs have a decision to make. You know, you want to get Collins and be stuck in mediocrity, or just blow it all up and tank. I mean, I think right now you probably go do it because these upcoming draft classes are going to be stacked,
really good
with talent.
Definitely.
Because of that, the Spurs probably should go in that direction. Do they? They probably don't. I think Pop has too much pride to just tank and rebuild. I think if Becky Hammond eventually becomes a coach, she would be put in an awful position if they do indeed do that. So that's why I think that they probably are the most likely to go and get John Collins.
Oh no, I can see what you're saying from that sense, especially with the fact that he denied that first contract that they gave him because he wants to test free agency. He trusted himself to play himself into a contract, and he definitely had flashes of being a guy that deserves max contract numbers. However, with the averages that he has, I'm with you guys. A max seems a little bit much. However, some of you said that caught my eye. The market now is to give a lot of money. That's why I feel as if he'll get around 22 to 25 because of how the market is right now. Someone's going to give him that money. But I just feel like the Mavs situation, you have a guy where he's already shown he can defer to other people, and he felt like, Trae Young wasn't the option. He grew to understand where the coach is coming from, where, okay, Trae is our best scorer 100%. I can live with him having the ball in his hands and the game being the fate of the game being in his hands. So you go into a team where Luka's now that guy. He already has that experience, that understanding where, okay, I'm not the best scorer on my team. There's other guys that need the ball more than I do because when I get the ball, I can be efficient. So I feel like that's why I like the Mavs. It reminds me a lot of Atlanta, and I feel like Mavs would be a little bit more willing to give him some money.